TikTok, it's time to rock. We're getting really good at this. We're starting to actually get these shows, guys, ladies and gentlemen, on time. You know, the last 3 or 4 shows, Brad, especially, we have been within 5 minutes of kickoff time. My gosh, bro, what's going on?
Well, we're stepping up a notch, Andrew. You know, we strive every week to get one little notch higher and closer to perfection.
Oh, Simon, we'll take that, won't we? We'll, what do you reckon?
I thought I was anyway.
You are. It's really just Andrew and myself.
Oh, well, that's like. Yes, I remember getting here at 23 minutes past 7.
Well, yeah. Well, that's right. And I think what we need to do is we should remind people that the next couple of weeks we're going to be, if you guys haven't had time adjustments because of daylight saving, we're an hour later probably than we would normally be because we've gone into daylight saving, and because the rock professor doesn't want to get out of bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning for the show.
Why not?
Damn right I don't.
So we're going to do this for a couple of weeks until his clocks change, and then we'll go back and we'll start doing the 6:30 New Zealand, 4:30 Aussie, and I think what's that 6:30 for you in the morning, Simon, over there?
Thanks.
Yeah. But it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see you guys. We've got a great show planned, obviously. We've been pushing this show on our social media accounts, I've noticed, especially. And we've picked up a bit of support, guys, on the Jimi Hendrix Facebook pages especially. You know, people are digging the fact that guys, folks, girls want to get together, Brad, and talk about Jimi Hendrix albums, bro.
Yeah. I mean, look, God bless them, because why wouldn't you want to talk about Jimi Hendrix's albums, you know? So, you know, good luck to, you know, thank you so much and for the support, you know, it's great.
Well, look, Simon, if only we got paid for doing this, it would be the greatest job in the world, wouldn't it?
Well, now we're monetized. I think it's only a matter of time before the checks start rolling in, isn't it?
Wow.
Just don't give your day job up quite yet, that's all.
No.
Okay.
But okay, I won't.
No, don't. But yeah, you know, I suppose one of the great things that we do here on this channel is that we get together with each other, with a core group of supporters every week in the chat supporting us, and we see some great names there, and the Rock Professor's going to do a shout out. And every now and then, Simon and Brad, we're blessed with the presence of someone joining us as a co-host, Simon. Yes,
indeed. And we're always keen. We are always keen on having people. If you want to come on, talk about, in this case, an album, a particular favourite of yours, or whatever. We're always keen to have people on to talk about that, lead on that. That's fantastic for us. Really good. And we have somebody today.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of things that we want to do in the intro, but I think what we'll do, if it's okay, Simon, if you want to introduce him, we'll get him in so he can hang out here with us and think, my God, what have I done? what am I going to do?
Yes. Well, as he's on my side of the pond, it's our pleasure to bring on Hugh Caldwell, who's going to lead us through the Jimi Hendrix Band of Gypsies. So, welcome, Hugh. Oh, wrong side. Oh, wrong side. That way. You notice Hugh and I are holding up the Antipodeans.
That's it. Good morning, everybody.
Good to see you, brother.
And you.
Yes, welcome.
Hey, Hugh. Welcome, Hugh. Welcome.
Cheers, Brad. Cheers, Simon.
So, Hugh, whereabouts are you in sunny Scotland?
I am in very sunny Glasgow.
Oh, the capital city. Excellent.
No, that's Edinburgh.
Yeah. Damn true it is. Damn. True that. I always think of Glasgow as being capital somehow, but
Yeah.
I might be doing something. What's the word?
wild and crazy.
Look, I don't want to cause any fights with you. I don't want to cause any fights.
Don't
But-
start
but-
that.
But in the green room, we were talking about our experiences over the years with Scots guys, and I've had the pleasure, and in fact, in my family tree, my great grandfather was Scottish, so you know, like most New Zealanders here, we're either Scottish, English, or Irish. And in my case, I'm blessed to be all three. But I used to work with Scottish guys, and one guy, and his name was Jock. Believe it or not, but that was his nickname. He was a hell of a nice guy. Anyway, he was a Rangers fan, and obviously because of where I was brought up and where I came from, we were Celtic fans. And so there was always that big divide, Simon, like United and City, you know, Arsenal and Spurs. So Hugh, I don't want to get you into trouble or cause any problems with you. But are you a Rangers or a Celtic man?
Very much Celtic.
Oh my gosh, you can come back.
Now look, we've got to stop this football stuff. You know, it could be dangerous. Sorry, soccer, I should say. It's for our.
I'm a Spurs fan. I'm a Spurs fan, guys, and we went down overnight to Arsenal, the local derby.
Trashed by Arsenal, didn't you? Oh dear.
Oh my lord, my lord, my lord. So
the season is over. In the Narnia of the Premier League, where they live in a different world to the rest of us.
Guys, we better move the show on. But I'd love talking about sport, but that's another show. We've got 13 people watching us. We really appreciate the fact that you guys are here with us. Very, very soon, the Rock Professor is going to do a shout out. We're going to have a bit of an intro, a serious intro. Brad's got something really, really cool he wants to talk about. We have to make sure that he does that. He's got actually two things to talk about. Yes. The other thing he didn't talk about last week because we were too busy talking about other things.
I've got a few things to talk about. So. I could talk for hours about gear. So, so basically, I've been very lucky enough to. I don't know what happened on. Well, I'll start with the probably what I'm most excited about at the moment is I've connected through another platform called Together with Aaron from Dominion Fuzz, and he has sent me through a parcel, a package. So I thought I would unbox it here and show you lovely folk why I've got my name written on the box. So what's in the box? I'll open it. I'll try and do this so you can see on the screen. But as you open it, it's in a really cool little bag.
Wow!
It's got the Dominion Fuzz logo there, and a really cool little card that describes the whole pedal, the fuzz pedal. And if you look close enough, the serial number is my name, Brad.
Wow.
So, how cool is that, huh? And it's switchable between germanium and silicon fuzz. So he's written the germanium there. He's got the resistor type there, and for silicon BC183, which is why I love a silicon fuzz. So the bag itself, I'll try and bring it closer, is got sawdust in the box. I love that. It's so cool. Yeah, it's
Wow.
really, and comes in this wonderful little red bag, and you know, I was so excited when I got this and chuffed. So I'll try and do it so you can see the pedal without any. So that's how sexy the little fuzz is, yeah. So it fits. It's a. You can see that it fits in my hand, nice and snug. It's big enough to fit on a pedal board and identify what pedal it is. And I can't thank Aaron enough. And I will be doing some sound samples and whatnot on my Instagram page moving forward. But how sexy is that, guys?
You're a lucky man. That's very
Really cool. Really
Well
cool.
done. Thank you, Aaron.
That's silicon, silicon to germanium with a switch.
Bloody hell.
It's
fantastic.
And one of my favourite colours, blue. So you got it right. Not that I can tell what colour it is. It's not about the colour,
lovely.
but yeah. So I'm feeling
Do you
extremely
know-
lucky.
That's brilliant, Brad. Do you know what else he makes, Brad? Does he make other pedals, or
well,
does he just do
does.
fuzz?
He does. That's his specialty. And everyone at the moment after he's building quite a lot of these.
Yeah.
And, you know, someone that you know we all love here on the channel, Philip Sace, actually uses this on his board. There's a clip of him on his Instagram. Philip Sace live, and he switches his pedal on and he points at it. And Aaron's actually filming it, so it's pretty cool. And it's this exact pedal. I don't know whether Andrew, you've got there it is, Dominion Electric on Instagram. So go across there, give him a follow, tell him that Brad Cook and the 5150 British Electric Blues Show sent you across there. And,
Cool. Fantastic.
And he's got to be. He's such a lovely guy, you know, and he loves. He sometimes goes live on Instagram while he's building the pedals just to chat, and it's a great Instagram channel to follow if you're into pedals like we all are here, and you know, toys. I call them toys. Go give him a follow. He shares a lot of really cool stuff, and there's some, you know, moving forward. He's going to join us on the channel here to talk everything to do with fuzz. So I'm really looking forward to bringing him on, guys. He'll be a massive addition to our channel, bringing him on here. So thank you so much, Aaron.
Cool, that's wonderful. And if you guys are watching on a replay, you'll notice that the website also that Brad is talking about for Aaron and his company is attached already on the description here. So if you don't, and we'll include, Brad, also that Instagram account here on the description as well for people that are watching on the replay.
Yeah, so I'd love everyone to go across there and give Aaron a follow and keep up to date with what he's doing. And if you're into fuzz pedals, well, you know, you can't really go past Dominion Fuzz. So thank you, Aaron. That's amazing.
Before the Rock Professor does the shout out, you've got something else to show us.
Yes, well, it's funny.
Something else.
Instagram does some weird and wonderful things at times, and some companies run little contests where you tag someone else's name in it. And Zach Zedris and I have been. He tags me in this. I use Sir humbucking pickups in my Les Pauls, and he does as well. He tagged me in a Sir post, and I retagged him. It was to win a pickup. So I actually won the contest, and I got this. So it's the Doug Aldrich bridge pickup humbucker for another Les Paul, or I'm thinking about putting it in a Super Strat, to be honest with you. But
wow,
at this stage, I haven't decided where it's going to go, because most of my live guitars that I use for live that are humbucking have got these pickups in them. So I'm wrapped. I can't be any happier.
Oh, look at that. Is it pretty high output, Brad? Is it quite?
They are a very high output pickup, but they're very smooth and they're very. I know it's probably hard to believe because of their, I think they're 15, 16K on the bridge, but they're just very smooth on the top end, and the bottom end isn't flappy. It's very tight, and they do have a very nice vintage tonality to them. So sometimes, and I have read this with some pickup builders, will say it's not necessarily a lot to do with the what they are resistance wise. Like it depends on how they're wired and everything like that as well, like how they're wound. But these ones in particular, they're just if you're into a hot sounding pickup that's got a real vintage tone to it, they're the ones to go. So thank you, sir, for that. I can't.
Wow.
Well done. Tremendous. Yeah. I
enter these things and I never ever expect to win. It's unbelievable. So I did rush out and put a lotto ticket on straight after that, but I didn't win that. So unfortunately,
I see. Third time unlucky.
Do we want to include Sue's contact details because you've mentioned them on this video as well, and we should at them and tell them when we've done that? What do you reckon?
Yep, I think we should.
Okay.
John Stur's another amazing guitar builder and whatnot. So we're all about supporting the industry and the community, Andrew. And I want to build our community in an alliance with all of them. So it's fantastic.
Awesome. We can do that. No problem at all. Make sure I do that. But again, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching on the replay and you have not subscribed to our channel, please do. We've had some good growth with our channel over the last couple of weeks. We really appreciate the fact that people are sharing our channel. We just ask you if you can also, help share our channel on some of your social media links. We'll be grateful. And also, what else do we have to say? Please go and check out our friends on our channels page. You'll see Brad's page there, channel. You'll see Hugh's channel there as well. Go and check out what Hugh does there as well, and support everybody there. Yeah. What's the Rock Professor got there?
Well, I got this only because this is my pseudo Sir guitar. It has the two V60 single coil Sirs and the Thornbucker. It is Q, yeah. It's an ML1. I got it for 200 quid, and put as I said, nice Thornbucker. One. That's a Thornbucker, and there's two SL. That have transformed this guitar. I mean, in terms of its sound, they're amazing pickups, and they make it sound really good. Yeah,
nice.
Yes, it's fantastic. Yes, so basically, I have a pseudo Sir. So it looks like a Super Strat, but it's got Sir pickups in, and not the. I mean, I've kept the old Chapman ones, but I didn't like them very much. But those pickups are fantastic, really good. Awesome. So I can recommend them as well.
So, Rock Professor, we've still got 13 people watching us, so that's great. So, do you want to do a
run away yet
before they will run away?
I will shout them out quickly. Yes, then they can all go to bed. Yes. So, good morning to Nelson, of course, Nelson Rodriguez. Good morning, Nelson. Tim Thomas, Gretch Zeppelin. Morning, Gretch. Some bloke called Simon Williams. Teresa. Good morning, Teresa from sunny Brazil. Holly, good morning, Holly. Hope your foot's healing up. Broken her foot. So she's not happy. Together with her duff hand. Who else? Hugh, some bloke called Hugh Caldwell. Morning, Hugh. Who else? Johnny Heartbreaker as well.
Hey, Johnny.
Morning, Johnny. And John ZD351. Morning, John. Hope you're good.
Hey, Johnny.
Hope you're not working today. Who else? Ellen as well. Good morning, Ellen. Hope you're good as well. Sunny Melbourne. So I think that's everybody who's commented. If you want to comment, I'll give you a shout out. Awesome. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining as ever. It's good to see you all. I hope you're all safe and well and had a good week. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Rock Professor. Thank you guys too. If you are watching on the replay. We're always amazed, Brad, aren't we, by the amount of people that come by and hang out with us after we've done a show. But thank you.
Well, just before we jump into this, Andrew, I wanted to say congrats on 8,500 subscribers.
Yeah.
We're at 8.5, guys. So,
Yeah. Fantastic.
wow.
Yeah.
You know, we're just blown away and chuffed, really. I can't really say, I know we say it every week, but we're just blown away by the numbers, and they're just keeping increasing. And the views on the shows we do afterwards have been fantastic. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, we're humbled
Yeah.
by it, and we keep saying it, don't we, guys? You know, there's a couple of tricks that you can do to help boost your channel, and taking advantage of other social media platforms. Brad and Simon and Hugh is the way to do it. You know, you do that, and we do a couple of little sneaky things, don't we? You know, we're like the Beatles, for example, are talking about Revolver, and we go and put our videos on there. Eric Clapton's talking about Derek and the Dominoes, and we go and put our videos on there, and people go, oh, what does an Englishman, an Australian, and a New Zealander know about Derek and the Dominoes?
and there is proof not much. Yes. But we've got opinions.
Yeah. We have a bit of fun, don't we? But no, thank you. And thank you to everybody. And I'm sure the Rock Professor's got a couple of words he wants to say about that too.
Indeed, I do. Well, it's an honour and a privilege that so many people have subscribed to our channel, and I know it's grown very quickly over the last few months. As Andrew's found the golden key to working out how to attract people. But it is amazing, and I've been looking this week back through our back catalogue and thinking how many of our shows, would benefit from that, that repositioning, if you like, in various like Led Zeppelin groups and stuff, and this, because we've done quite a few Led Zeppelin albums, and putting them in those things as we go forward, I think it will attract a lot more viewers, and hopefully more subscribers as well, which is fantastic. But,
yeah.
So yes, thank you to each and every one of you. It's fantastic and amazing, slightly scary.
And we want to do a special shout out too, because we've got a couple of things coming up on the channel too while we're talking about it. So on Thursday, New Zealand time, the 6th of October, we've got our annual tribute to EVH. Brad, it'll be the third one that we've done. We did one a couple of weeks after he passed. We did one on the 6th last year, and we're doing one again this year. So starts 2:30 local time here, and we'll be going for 6 hours, and we're going to allow people that have been on our shows before, and other people, if they want, just to jump on and hang out and talk EVH. And then we've got in the week, Simon, in the weekend, we've got a get together with Bob and Jeff, talking about their Fleetwood Mac book. And look, I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. Since we started supporting and helping those guys promote their book, the return and subscriptions we got for that was fantastic. It was just fantastic.
Yeah. We should say good morning to Axe on Fire, who's not a name I recognise. So good morning and welcome, Axe on Fire. Good to see you.
Hey, Axe on Fire.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for making a comment so we can say hi. That's really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that's always a good thing. So, guys, we were supposed to talk about this album last week. Hugh couldn't make it because he had work commitments, and we decided that we would correctly postpone it because we wanted him to come on. We all know that Hugh is a Hendrix nut too. So, I suppose Hugh, we've done a lot of talking. Brad and I and the Rock Professor, so it's probably an opportunity for you now to talk about the album that we're going to talk about and rank. Your opinions on the album, where and how you discovered it, where you situate it, followed by Brad, the Rock Professor, and myself, and then we'll jump in and rank the tracks, guys. What do you reckon?
Sounds damn good to me.
Morning, Jim. Fellow Scotsman.
I got into Jimmy at a very early age. I was probably about 12. I remember there was 3 albums in my older brother's bedroom. there was Sticky Fingers by the Stones, there was a Beach Boys compilation, and there was a Hendrix Monterey live performance.
Wow.
And that was the one that instantly jumped out at me after, and obviously the Stones, but it was only 6 months later, I would say, that I came across the band The Gypsys album, and I actually went backwards. I listened to that before I heard Access Mode is Love and Are You Experienced? So
Oh, wow.
I went to the more experimental Jimmy first. This album for me anyway is the album showing his new direction he was going in. Less of the pyrotechnics, more I'm just going to get up there, front of stage, play my guitar, and at this concert he's got two really funky cats playing with him, and Billy Cox and Buddy Miles, who are, you can hear it straight from the very beginning on this album how tight they are. So I got into Hendrix very, very early, and that's what inspired me to pick up the guitar and play myself. And this album is huge in my life, it always has been.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, I just got to do a quick little shout out. X on Fire is the left-hand lady, KJ, and she did a show with us a couple of weeks ago, and she met Billy Cox and
played a
Noel.
gig with him, didn't she?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and Noel Redding. Yeah. Hey, KJ, nice to see you.
Yeah, well, it's up to me now, Andrew. You want me to talk about
Go for it, brother.
Yeah, well, Band of Gypsys was an album for me that, came later in the piece. Obviously, the Cornerstone was the first one really that I went out and purchased on CD. I'd listened to the albums already. I never really had heard Band of Gypsys at that point in time. So once I went out, rushed out, bought all my copies of Are You Experienced, Access Bottles Love, Electric Lane Lamb. The next thing obviously was Band of Gypsys. And I have to say, I could probably imagine what like the people that in 1970 that heard it, I probably felt that same experience hearing the Band of Gypsys going, what am I listening to here? This is completely different to what I expected. I expected the freak out psychedelic rock stylings of Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding, and I was really not familiar with the fact at that present point in time when I bought it that he did collaborate with Buddy Miles and Billy Cox. So I didn't put two and two together at the time because I wasn't familiar with that. So I could tell straight away that it was Hendrix playing with a more soulful band, and I was listening to these guys, and I thought, and we'll get into it when we rank the tracks. I could hear Hendrix felt probably a little bit more at home sitting on top of a rhythm section like this. It was as much as he loved Mitch Mitchell, the way he played in Noel Redding and that freak out sort of experienced sound. I think his heart and soul was in that real. The Chitlin circuit from that, the extension of that is the soul and funk and blues. And, I have to say this rapidly became one of my favorite Hendrix albums because we'll go into it with the rankings, but it's a live performance. It's not like a recorded album, but it became one of my favorites just because of how thick and dense the band sounded rhythmically. There was a lot of this present point in time, which I've, in the last 10, 15 years, it's all started to make sense to me. Hendrix was starting to, wanting to present a message to people instead of, experiences and things like that. He was trying to relay messages to people and through his music. And I think he was right at home and comfortable with the band. But I think also he needed someone like Mitch back in his band at some point to get what was in his head out as well, because I think Mitch worked really well with him musically when it came to writing. So, but this particular lineup, I wish there was more with this lineup, and I'm grateful that we got it. There's some actual studio recordings with this lineup, and I love. And there's also the later. I think it came out in the 2000s. A two double CD set from the Fillmore gigs, and I love that as well. And I love to hear the extended parts and everything. They did edit some of this out, which we'll talk about as we get into things. But for me, it's a very important album for Hendrix. He did it, obviously. I'll leave that for Hugh when he does a little introduction. But there's so much soul and funk drenched in blues for this record, and I love it. So I'll pass it over to is Simon. Are you next?
I can be next. Well, it's Andrew technically. Go on, Andrew, you go first. Yeah.
You're next. Or?
I'll be honest, and I'll be quick with you guys. I never heard this album until years after I discovered the classic Jimi Hendrix, if you understand what I mean by that, the classic Jimi Hendrix. And it was years later. And I remember I was having a conversation with some friends, and it must have been at work or something like that, and someone was saying, "Have you heard Band of Gypsies?" And I said, "No, didn't know anything about it." And it was like, oh, really? It was that kind of like, oh, well, I don't know if you can participate in this conversation anymore kind of vibe, you know? I'm being honest. And so, I remember, at least buying something. Maybe it was the cassette, I don't know, or getting a copy. And Brad, I'll be honest with you, when I first heard it, I would have been in my, say, early 20s, and that's why I freaked out when Hugh said that he was 12 or 13 when he heard it, because it must have been like a revelation for him. But because when I heard it in my, say, 21, 22, it was like I kind of didn't get it, Simon, because I was really familiar with this classic stuff. And it wasn't until, again, you just have to, Brad and Hugh, you got to digest something. You got to listen to it a couple of times and work it out. And then I would say about 2008, 2009, I started taking, Hendrix seriously. I was going through this Hendrix buzz, and that's when I think, Hugh, I finally got this album. And I agree with you, Brad. It's one of my favourite now. It's one of my favourite Hendrix albums, and it's because of a lot of reasons, and we can talk about that during the tracks. But when you take into account 68, 69, 72 years, Simon, or 18 months, the growth, the change in Hendrix in 18 months was just a phenomenal thing. And I think that's why I like it so much, because it's just, it's clear. It's not open to interpretation, Simon. If you've got ears, you can hear it, Simon.
For sure, yeah. I'm a bit like you, Andrew. I got into Hendrix in the early 70s with the White Album, with him sitting on a stool playing the 12-string, the soundtrack to the film. And I had like you, had the three classic albums, the first, I experienced, and Axis Boldest Love and Electric Ladyland, but not really went any further with it until the early 80s. And when I worked in a record shop, and then a whole load of other stuff. And I got into, at the same time, I sort of had this thing where I got into Sly and the Family Stone as well, and this album as well.
Wow.
So I came across, and to me, that they kind of intersected in that.
100%.
Not quite, but there's a kind of intersection between what Sly and the Family Stone were doing in that kind of very kind of funk thing, and then much more what he's doing on this album that kind of, for me, intersected and joined together in there. So I sort of discovered them at the same time. And it's, we'll get into it, but it's one of those albums, isn't it, where it is in some ways of its time, in those long jammed out kind of numbers that they do, that clearly people by the 80s, for sure, people had moved away from, and they weren't doing nearly so much of that jamming thing. It was much more tightly organized into songs with distinct sections and things, and not 12-minute tracks were a lot rarer in the early 80s than they were in the early 70s. And you know, I think you know that in some ways like that is, you know, it is a product of its time and stuff. But oh yeah, you could see, you know, Hendrix's development and where he wanted to go, and you know the kind of things he wanted to do, collaborations with other people and things. And I take your point, Andrew. Sorry, Brad, about the difference of playing with. I was thinking about it when you were saying it, playing with a rhythm section, because there's almost, you know, with Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, it's more like three soloists, isn't it? You know, kind of there's a sort of competition going on. Yeah, you know, everybody's playing the hell out of everything.
Yeah,
You know, thrashing around, and whereas these, you know, Buddy Miles and Billy Cox just laying it down, you know. You know, just really, you know, that very straight kind of drum beat over which you can, you know, do your thing. And I think that you're right about that. It's a completely different, completely different experience from the two bands, and not doing the same thing at all. You know, in terms of that rhythm section, I think that this is much more truly a rhythm section than it is, you know, than possibly Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell were. Yeah, because I always think of that version of the experience as being a bit like the Who. You know, everyone, you know, John Entwistle is playing, you know, bass guitar, you know, bang, you know, all over the place. Keith Moon is, you know, and almost
Animal.
Yeah, Pete Townsend is like the rhythm person, he's keeping the beat almost kind of thing. But it's not quite the same with Hendrix. But but if none of them are, it's I can see that when you're playing, you know, it can be a bit more kind of competitive in that way. So I can see why moving in this direction would, you know, he would feel more comfortable with it. Moving forward.
I think too, you can hear the two albums that came out a while back. War Heroes and The Cry of Love, you can also hear a lot of the new Hendrix coming in.
Yeah. It shows he wasn't isolated, doesn't it, Hugh? It shows, you know, that as I've said, that kind of Sly and the Family Stone thing, and that kind of, you know, you can tell that here is a kind of blueprint for the Parliament funkadelic stuff of George Clinton. Noting, so I feel that, you know, very strongly, you know, that kind of you know, the funk thing is coming in the early 70s, and you know, he's, you know, up with it. As you said, taking it from that Chitlin Circuit experience, that kind of, you know, the band he played in before the experience. It takes
even the band he played in, he played with the Isley Brothers. They became more funk rock in the early 70s again.
Absolutely, yeah. Great point. Yeah, they're in there, aren't they? The Isley Brothers with Sly and Co. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Hey guys, I just want to do a quick shout out. I've just got a message here from Jimmy Ray Hawkins. It's 12 a.m. where he is, so he's just sent me a message here on my phone. We're having some technical difficulties getting some of his comments through onto the stream, so we're going to work that out. So
okay, yeah. Jimmy Ray, we haven't banned you consciously or anything like that, I'm sure, but there have been no comments from you that have appeared on the stream.
This is going back a couple of weeks ago too, so
right.
So what I've done is I've just to sort of stop that from happening, I've just cleared up some of the moderators, just in case there may have been an issue there. That's one of the issues, I suppose, when you have moderators with wrenches. Accidents may happen. I don't know, but
yeah. You got iPads and things like that. It's only one finger slip away from blocking somebody or something.
Yeah. No, those are good points, guys. Sophisticated album, but I certainly do look forward to going through and kicking off the rankings, guys. And I've got photos too. So, Rock Professor, when we flick over to side 2, we'll flick through the photos. What do you reckon?
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. So, Hugh, do you want to talk about the album at all?
Yeah.
What's your knowledge of the album? What have you got to add to it?
It's probably my second favourite Hendrix album.
Yep.
My favourite being Axe as Bold as Love.
Yep.
It's the album I think that has his best guitar playing on it. On the whole, I would say. I think it's a very, very more influential album than a lot of people would give it credit for. And it's just something that something to say to me. How good was Jimi Hendrix? I'll say, listen to Machine Gun. We'll get to that in a minute, but
Of course.
it's just a fantastic. The sound quality is fantastic on this for 1970.
It is.
You can clearly hear the Billy's bass right up there as well. You know, along with the drums. With as Mitch Mitchell once said of Buddy Miles, the cement mixer. He called him.
It's rather unkind, really, isn't it?
But,
No, it's true. Mitch used to say that it was like a cement mixer, just like boom, crack, boom. It's solid.
But yeah, the sound quality is great, and what I think you hear throughout the whole album is his change in pedal board layout slightly from what he was using the previous 2 or 3 years. So,
Yeah.
massive album for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hugh, do you want to do a bit of history about it, or would you like one of us to take that?
On you go.
Well, I was just going to say that it's recorded on the 1st of January 1970 at the Fillmore East in New York City. And clearly, you know, it mixes funk, rhythm and blues elements with hard rock and jamming, all those things together in a new kind of melange. And I think it's for those times, it's a pretty new sound. Clearly, Hendrix playing in a different way than he did with the Experience, and he'd got together with Miles and Cox, sort of a Woodstock. I think Billy Cox played at Woodstock, but Buddy Miles didn't. And they jammed out kind of new directions for their songs that they were doing. Lyrically, they explore more humanistic themes for Hendrix and things. There's clearly the anti-riot, anti-war Machine Gun track, which he does it. I think Hendrix had some issues with the recording and getting it together, because he's the album's producer together with Eddie Kramer, who's the engineer on it, and things that doing the shows. Just a quick bit of background. Go on.
The album itself came about. Obviously, Hendrix was doing Gypsy Sun and Rainbow at Woodstock, so he introduced Billy Cox around that time, and obviously jamming with Billy, leaned a lot more on his Chitlin circuit days with Billy Cox. So they knew each other very well, and the way they played together was very cohesive. They were very locked in, like that together, very tight. And I believe Hendrix had he had a contractual thing, a dispute with a former manager, and he needed to do another album for the record company.
Ed Chapman.
And so he Miles, Buddy Miles, Billy Cox, and Hendrix just agreed to do this album as a way to actually fill that contractual obligation. So that's
hadn't he signed a contract for $1? Wasn't it $1 that he signed the contract for?
Back,
Look, there's a couple of things that I know that, and I've read a lot of stuff that contradicts like what is the truth, but I do know that the truth was he had a dispute with a former manager, and he had to do this contractually for the record company, and obviously it was they didn't want to do a live album, but they figured, look, let's just get this done. We'll just give them this, and then they can move on. And a lot of the songs that they performed, they didn't put on this because they wanted them to be for the next album. They didn't want to release it on a live album before it had been released on a studio album, because they were still actually works in progress. So moving forward, obviously, the Band of Gypsys album, that's how it sort of came about. It wasn't something that Hendrix wanted to do. He didn't wanted to set out and do a live record. He just wanted to get this stuff out of the way, this contractual obligation. So, they rehearsed up for the shows and they recorded. I think Hendrix was most happiest with the third and fourth performance, which was a second date they did. But that's just a rough background anyway, is how that actually came about.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
What a remarkable accident.
Well, that's what I always think. It's like, and there's sometimes some wonderful things come out of something that wasn't necessarily meant to be. But that's a slight background. But we should get into the ranking of the songs. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah. And I just want to do a quick little shout out again, because I just tried to have a look behind the scenes while you guys were talking. Sorry, I wasn't being rude, to see why I can't see Jimmy Ray's comments. He sent me a screenshot of him making comments here in our chat, but no one can see Jimmy Ray's comments. So strange. Yeah, YouTube. When someone can work out YouTube, let us know.
But he hasn't been blocked by us, has he? Hasn't?
No. Well, no. He hasn't been blocked.
No.
But we can't see his comments. So
very strange.
sorry, brothers. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, to hold the show up.
So maybe what we should do, Andrew, from you're the admin here, you go in and maybe tag him in a post, like a comment, tag his handle in there.
Yeah. Might try that.
But so Hugh, do you want to start with the first track and give us your ranking?
Yeah.
Certainly. Track 1 is called Who Knows. It's a kind of a long jam type intro song for the concert. I would say you can hear how groovy these three guys are playing together straight away. So as soon as Needle goes on the record, you're like, I'm into this. They're so tight, and you can hear Jimmy's new guitar tone when she's got his Octavia in front of the fuzz after the wah. His rhythm playing is exemplary as well on this track. So percussive. It's just a great way to start the concert. It's what can I say? Billy Cox. I love the way he plays bass lines when he plays with Jimmy. Obviously, the two have a long history going back to the Army days, or the Air Force days rather. So I think there's some sort of telepathic connection between them two. And obviously, Buddy Miles is just keeping that backbeat going throughout the song. And Hendrix, again, his guitar solo is fantastic as well. It's just a great opening song to the concert.
What do you rank it out of 10?
Oh, right, sure. I would give it a 9.2.
9.2.
9.2. Ah, we're in that territory. Fine.
Well, is it me next, Andrew?
It's it's you. It's you next, bro. Yes.
No worries. Well, look. Obviously, the first track, like Hugh said, it's Who Knows, and Jimmy starts off that little riff. It's very mellow. He's just winding up, just getting the band ready, and they're being introduced as the Band of Gypsies, and can only imagine what the diehard fans that were at the gig were thinking when they first heard this. Because once Billy and Buddy come in laying down that rhythm section, it's just game on. It's thick, it's an amazing groove, and it's something like no one that was a Hendrix fan had ever heard before. Then there's that fantastic call and response vocals from Jimmy and Buddy. When that solo kicks in, look, I might get shot down for this one, but it's arguably the greatest blues guitar playing I've ever heard. And those licks are just sensational. The opening guitar parts where he solos is just fantastic. And this is all before the first verse.
Sure.
You know, we hear some fantastic wah work from Jimmy as well in this song. The band, it lifts dynamically and drops dynamically perfectly around Jimmy's improvising. It's like they know exactly where he's going. Billy Cox and Hendrix, like you said, they're tight. They've got that history together from the Army, the Chitlin circuit, the whole bit, like the Chitlin circuit with Buddy Miles as well. They know each other. They've got similar backstories when it comes to what they did in the Chitlin circuit. So that's coming through in the music. You can hear it. It's very thick. It's very dense, very groovy. And, you know, we're hearing here what I want to say would be probably what evolves into funk rock later on with bands like Living Colour and things like that, and Lenny Kravitz and all these artists that you know, we all love so much as well. The breakdown highlights Buddy singing and scatting vocally over that, and there's, you know, there has been chat from Eddie Kramer saying that when they were mixing a lot of this, it used to frustrate Jimi Hendrix a lot that Buddy Miles would improvise and scat a lot through the song, but I think that's just what Buddy's style was. So without that, we might not have got this record anyway. So, you know, gotta love it for what it is. Jimmy comes in with some wonderful rolled back guitar tones, meaning that the volume is rolled back on his guitar with his Octavia fuzz and Octavia is still on. He's rolled that tone back just to get that really sort of, it's a unique sound when you roll back with an Octavia. It kind of just pokes out those little harmonic-y things that are going on, and it's wonderful. It's a sludgy ending, a great performance. I gave it 10 out of 10. It's never a skip for me.
Well done.
Sludgy ending.
It's a remarkable intro, isn't it? Because it's a reinvention of Jimmy, but it's also an invention as well of where they're going with this, you know. And I'm glad the Rock Professor mentioned it, you know, that he was listening to Sly and the Family Stone at the, you know, because the song, it's more of a groove, isn't it, than a song. Yeah, you know, and it's just so unlike anything else, you know, from those classic albums that you hear, and it's just like, oh gosh, you know, it's. I remember the first time, Brad, I heard it, and just listening to it over the last couple of weeks, half a dozen times, I just get that same amount of joy just hearing it, because you know you're going somewhere really, really different with this song, don't you, Simon? I want to take into account too, and I did a bit of research, that this album was also, I think, a reflection of the event, the venue that they were at, Simon. You know, the Fillmore, you know, which was sort of developing its own cathedral-like status for rock and roll artists, wasn't it? And, you know, and it, you know, we're not going to get metaphysical here, but, you know, if there's some mojo and juju going on from that stage, it certainly had an effect on this band. And again, in my research, you know, a couple of guys, Brad, and this is going to freak you out too, Hugh.
Yeah.
When you know, the so-called experts, when they first heard this kind of song, they didn't get it. You know, you know, it was kind of panned. But Brad just went on in his introduction and said it's one of the greatest electric blues interpretations on vinyl. I got to agree with Brad. It's a kicker. It's yeah. I have to give this a 10 out of 10 too, Rock Professor.
Yeah, it's really interesting what you say, that it's not so much of a song, more of a kind of a feeling, a vibe. It's all the way through, and I think that's right. I think that's one of the interesting things about this record as a whole, is that it is about feeling and about a vibe and about an expression of as you say, you don't want to get too metaphysical, but yeah, an expression of Hendrix's inner thing, rather than a sort of the I mean, we did live at Monterey, and there's a wildness about that album, there's a kind of this animal on the on the rattling the bars of this, and astonishing kind of animal, coming at you in it, and which makes that record astonishing, as a thing. Whereas this is not that at all. This, he's much more kind of, I think in some ways, clearly Monterey had something to prove. I think it feels like he has less to prove here, and is able to relax into that, being that musicianship, stretch out, take it where it's going to go, really expand his guitar playing, and whereas the Monterey album is all about the song, and he's tight in the solos and that, and they're all 3 minutes long kind of thing. There's no, my memory is not a huge amount of, long jams going on. Whereas here, it's all long jams. It's all that kind of that taking it to another place, and I think that's really interesting. Was my first thing. I think the scat singing, the imitate is, to me, was, when I was listening to that, is an imitation of a guitar solo.
Sure.
He's like singing a guitar solo, which is quite
Call and response.
Yeah, it's a kind of call and response, but Hendrix is just that, but he's just not playing, is he, Jimmy? He's just he's not doing anything at all, as far as I can tell, not doing anything at all, letting him get on with it. And I think that, again, that is an exploration, and one can only wonder about what they might have made going forward, because they all sang, didn't they? They all sang, the three of them. What you could do with 3 voices plus all of that amazing musicianship. I think that would have been really interesting. But you get a taste of that, and I think that sort of that scat singing harks back to jazz, doesn't it? That very much a kind of jazz thing. We've heard sort of rumours of Hendrix jamming with Miles Davis and things. I don't think particularly successfully is my memory of it, but but harking back to that jazz, those jazz roots as well, and kind of bringing that into this early 70s, rock funk thing. So, and also I think that it's important that that's recognised as kind of broadening out your musical horizons and taking them somewhere else. As you say, Hendrix plays fantastically on this, pretty relaxed, not sort of not pushing it like he does on Monterey. I think there's a real contrast between the two things. So really, it's a 9 out of 10 for me, only because there are other songs on this album that might be a bit more. So, a fantastic opening. As I say, interestingly, you were saying, Andrew, about the Fillmore East. 1971. July 1971 is the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore East, one of the other great improvising, albums and stuff.
Oh, and I can't wait for when we do that album.
Oh, look at that! The future. Yes.
Oh.
Who said we didn't have any album? We might run out of albums. That's fantastic.
Classic.
Yeah. So that's me. 9 out of 10. Never a skip, and a fantastic opening.
Wonderful. Hugh, Machine Gun.
I feel as if I should retract my first score there, because it is higher than that.
Don't retract, Hugh. Don't give in to us.
I will stick. Okay, a deep breath for track number 2. Machine Gun. Just to say, I would easily say it's probably the what's the word for it? The biggest musical statement ever made on a guitar, in my opinion. It's huge. It's bigger than life itself almost, this song. It's like it's a juggernaut. It hits you in the face every 5 seconds, it's like something new you're hearing. It's probably got the best guitar solo of all time in it,
Sure.
in my opinion. The sounds that Hendrix conjures up from this song is otherworldly, I would say. It's just nothing. There's nothing like it before or since, and it's probably up there with my top 3 tracks of any musician of all time as well. It's just an absolute juggernaut, classic, monster.
Wow.
10 out of 10.
Well, Jim, well, Hugh, that's I think maybe you've been looking at my notes, maybe, mate, because yeah. Anyway, Hugh, I'll try not to double up on what you've mentioned, but Machine Gun, one of Jimi Hendrix's greatest achievements, in my opinion. Some unbelievable guitar work throughout this. His use of the Univibe is infectious. This song made me go and buy a Univibe pedal, 100%. The lead guitar work before the first verse is beautiful. There's some, again, like I said in Who Knows, some of the greatest blues guitar playing is at the head of this song before he even starts singing. Then when he comes in, I absolutely love his vocals in this song, and I don't think Hendrix gets enough credit vocally. Everyone focuses on his guitar playing. His vocals are very powerful. He's sending a message. He's talking about, he's singing about the war. He's singing about the rioting. He's singing about everything. The lyrics of the song are powerful. It sets a mood lyrically if you're listening to the lyrics. They're very heavy. The drumming from Buddy is amazing. He's got such a groove, such an amazing groove. Billy Cox is so in tune with Jimmy. Obviously, stems back to the early days where they used to play together, and it's so apparent. He lays down this thick bed for him, a bottom end, and Jimmy just sits on top of it. It's probably the contrast between the experience and the band of Gypsies is apparent now. We're really hearing, you didn't hear it in the first song, you're hearing it in this one. Jimmy is sitting on top of the band, where in the experience is kind of leading them. He's kind of leading the experience, if that makes sense. He's playing and the band are keeping up with him. With this one, he's just sitting and floating on top. And I think Jimmy plays best when he's doing this. Look, the main solo is mesmerizing. That first note he holds with the fuzz and the Univibe oscillating, it's intense. It's just powerful. It's the whole solo is like that. There's just so much in it to consume, all within the one solo. Like you said, it's a bold statement. It's powerful. The rhythm section during the solo have this down pat. It's like they've rehearsed this. They've been rehearsing this song a lot. They've played it a lot. They didn't miss a beat in this whole song. The dynamics in this of the improvised solo are insane. The verses where he comes back in singing, he's like a man that's been through blood, sweat, and tears in war. He pulls you right into the firing line of war in this song. He puts you in the what it would be like to be in the mind of a soldier holding a machine gun and having guns fired at you, and he puts you right there. You're feeling this in the song. Billy and Buddy, they're singing in this, the oohs, where they sing together. That's really powerful. Jimmy demonstrates some amazing dive bombs, the machine gun effects, trying to emulate what it would be like to be within the firing range. Like there's machine guns going, dive bombs, this, that, it's all happening. By the end of the song, we hear Jimmy take us out with some over-the-top fuzz-induced dives and tremolo work. I have to quote one of my favorite artists here, Lenny Kravitz. when he says after listening to Machine Gun he needs to take a nap.
Yes.
It's a heavy song. There's a lot going on, and yeah, I agree with that. I have to give this 100 out of 10. It's one of Hendrix's biggest and boldest statements of all time, and like you said, one of the biggest statements on guitar of all time.
Masterpiece.
Yeah.
100% a masterpiece. Andrew.
Okay, I just want to paint an image for you guys here. So, you know, the first time I heard this song, I had been influenced by, I'd just read a book called First Blood. And then the movie First Blood came out. And just bear with me. So we all, if we've all seen First Blood, we know it's about, you know, a Vietnam veteran. And around the 1980s, we were getting a lot of historical documents and TV programs. Painted Black was on TV. It was, you know, about people in Vietnam and stuff like that. And we were watching Hamburger Hill, and we were watching Platoon, and we were getting all these images, Brad, Simon, and the rock professor, about this war, you know, this catastrophe that was happening in Vietnam. And, you know, I don't want to come, I'm not bashing America, but it's one of the interesting things about America that we love. You know, it's a place of contradictions and contrasts. You know, you've got this thing that's happening, and it's having a direct influence on one of the greatest musicians of the era, 3 musicians. And the best way that they can do that, Brad and Simon and you, is to translate that into the song. Now, they were getting probably black and white images, Simon, on TV, so they weren't getting, you know, the historical footage that we saw, you know, 10, 15 years later. But Jimmy was hanging out with vets, you know, backstage. You know, he was, you know, he used to hang out with fans and stuff like that. So these vets were obviously telling him stories. And then he comes out and gives us this song, Brad. This song, which is, I'm going to pinch some words that I pinched off an article I read. You know, it's electrifying, hypnotic vision of power, terror, and defiance. It's 12 minutes of a majestic masterpiece. That guitar tone, Brad and Hugh, that you're talking about, he's playing clearly for a lot of the song. He's playing the neck pickup. You know, it's just phenomenal. Then Brad's already mentioned he's got the uni-vibe going. It's just, it just blew me away, Brad. It blew, you know, when I first heard it, and it still does today. I'd be happy if the album ended with this song. I'd be happy. I wouldn't consider myself being ripped off. I'm glad that we're all in the same ballpark. Simon, I have to give this a Brad score. It's 12 minutes of just complete perfection, just about.
It is an extraordinary piece, isn't it? Absolutely, an extraordinary piece. I don't think I have much to. I think you've all painted fantastic pictures of what it's like. I'll just back up the the kind of the exploration about what a guitar can do, what you can get out of. You know, clearly, Hugh, as you've said, there's not a huge amount of. You know, he hasn't got a huge pedal board with 94 pedals on it.
No.
It's kind of 4 pedals, and to be able to do all of those things and that kind of that amount of, you know, dynamics, expressiveness, of, you know, and it's, you know, putting out the feeling, the vibe, of, as you say, Andrew, what it's like, you know, to be in that, you know, that kind of situation, is to me extraordinary as a piece of impressionistic music. You know, I'm going to sort of use that kind of impressionism, link it through to that, you know, the rat-a-tat-tat of the machine gun, you know, all of that, which is amazing. And I think, you know, what you forget is nobody ever did it before. Nobody ever really took the electric guitar to these sorts of places before. People certainly jammed and did those things, but this is on a different level to me in terms of its, if you of using what you've got to maximum effect, maximum dynamic, dramatic effect, is an extraordinary piece. And again, I'll go back to the word I used in the first thing, which is about a feeling. It's about an emotion of whether it's fear or whatever. That's what he's conjuring up here, more than and the lyrics kind of bear that out as well. They're amazing lyrics that kind of of which conjure up that feeling, of what it's like, as you say, Brett. And there's a kind of it starts off with the kind of machine gun tearing my body all apart, evil man made me kill you and all that, but then it goes into much more of a kind of the way you shoot me down, baby, you're going to be doing it kind of brings it more into a personal level. And then it goes back into the kind of so much more the war thing, no bullets at least here, no guns, no bombs, the kind of pacifist peace thing, which is clearly very prevalent in those times, and it is an amazing reflection of all of that. And as you say, the chaos of of a war situation. But he's very specific at the beginning. You'll notice he says, I'd like to dedicate this to the dragging scene that's going on all the soldiers that are fighting in Chicago, Milwaukee, and New York. So he's specifically referencing inside the US and the anti-Vietnam protests and things that are going on in the US. And he says, oh yes, and all the soldiers fighting in Vietnam. Clearly not an afterthought, but wanted to make that link between the two things, that external war experience that's going on in Vietnam and the protests and the internal war that's going on by the generations, I guess, as much as anything else. That the new counterculture is making reference to that and its opposition to sending off to fight in foreign lands and things. So it is indeed a Brad score. There's no other place to go with this. And it is an extraordinary piece of music, an extraordinary evocation of so many emotions and so many things that you can only give it a Brad score. I think it's it's a pinnacle in any kind of rock music of if you think somebody who's that influential, and as you say, you can trace the lines of this through Parliament, Funkadelic, Lenny Kravitz, any of those funk soul bands, the Isley Brothers. Clearly played with them in the past, but taking that forward, and also the protest thing, there's those strands are there, and they are way up there with this track. It can only be a Brad score.
The thing is with this song is there has been a lot of great guitar players came after Jimmy, right? But none of them made me feel the way this song makes me feel when I hear it. It takes you to somewhere else. It's like something really spiritual about it as well. It's like it's hard to describe, but it's it just takes you to a different place from anybody else.
And that spirituality is allowed to come through, isn't it? In this
he's the only guitar player that's made me cry after Stevie Ray Vaughan. Those two do it for me. You hear something so good that you just
and I think they captured the each performance of Machine Gun's different, like that. It's not the same, and this one is like every version I've heard of Machine Gun doesn't quite match this one, so they really captured the emotion in this song. I think they really captured it. Jimmy was really feeling it at this point when he was playing this one.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with Teresa's comment there. Brad is one of the people who understands Hendrix the most. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. there's something just about Hendrix, obviously, that I love all guitar players. I love them for different reasons, but there's something a little bit more a deeper connection to Hendrix than most guitar players for me. For some reason, I don't.
Me too.
I can't make that relevance of why, but I just do.
Me too.
There's just something about, Simon, a guy grabbing a Strat and basically poking it into a Marshall, isn't it? And just, Strats aren't supposed to sound like that, Brad, through a
Well, I'll be honest with you. If it wasn't for Jimi Hendrix, I probably wouldn't play a Strat because I got a few Strats.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, I'm being honest. That's I love Strat players, but Hendrix, the Monterey gig obviously was the reason I'm playing guitar today. So, but yeah, I'm glad we're all on the same page with that song because I've been sort of waiting to do this album to talk about that song. And I still don't even reckon my description of it is anywhere near what's going on in my head when I listen to that song. But did the
I
best.
know the feeling.
Yeah, same here.
I feel I could come back and talk for another 10 minutes if I thought about it right.
Yeah. So
The
Andrew,
way that he sustains those notes, it's just phenomenal, isn't it?
that note that he holds when he breaks into the solo and the
The high E,
unified oscillating, because he can. Pretty much, I used to set my unified tone speed to that all the time. And there is a particular way, and shouts out to Nick Sebeny and Tony Battle that I know through social media that have explained how he does the little intro. He doesn't use a pick, he uses his thumb.
Correct.
And, when we do get Tony Battle on the show, I'll get him to explain that maybe and give us a little demonstration of that, because a lot of players play it with a pick. It's not like the is a guitar pick. So he tucks it away. He uses his thumb.
Yeah.
Breaks it. It's But anyway, you got some pictures to show, Andrew. Keep the show flowing. We could talk about Machine Gun for 20 hours, probably.
All right. Hold on, guys. So I'm just going to flick through the photos. This week's batch of photos, ladies and gentlemen, has been sponsored for by those clickbait models.
One model, one rugged old man.
Thank you. So obviously, guys, just give me a second there. No disrespect, Teresa. We'll get rid of your comments so that we can see the whole photo. So guys, talk about a great album cover. For me, when I saw that album cover and pondered it, I don't know about you guys, Hendrix, there he is there. He's got a bit of that afro going on, a little bit different hairstyle that he had from the Experience. Brad, he's got that big Strat headstock there that a lot of guys fell in love with. I just love that cover. You guys got some opinions on that cover before I flick the next photo up?
I used to stare at that cover constantly.
Just one word on it as well.
One word.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need any more words, do you? So that's that kind of bathed in those cool colours and that kind of just looking down at his guitar, sort of, kind of sends out the vibe of what the album is, doesn't it? That kind of slightly more introspective sort of look at things, not blasting away at the with the sort of thing of Monterey. So
I'm just going to get rid of that banner. So this here's an interesting thing here. So readers of Rolling Stone in 1917 were enticed into subscribing with the promise of a free copy of the new Jimi Hendrix album, Band of Gypsys. That's Simon, even Rolling Stone were hooking their subscribers into classic rock and roll.
giveaways.
So that's, we'll read that there. So drivers on West Hollywood 1970 couldn't miss Capitol Records promotion of Band and Gypsies, thanks to those massive billboards. Yeah.
Jimmy Funko.
Just keep him there. Keep him there.
Nice.
He's going to get his own spotlight soon. 40 feet long, apparently, these billboards.
Yes, yeah.
So there's another poster there, ladies and gentlemen, that the record company came out with. There's a group shot there. Simon, do you want to read that there? Can you read that? Can you see that?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's into the initial UK release by Track Records. Featured the front cover, Saskia Dubois depicting Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan, and UK disc jockey John Peel as dolls, but which is quite odd. It's quite an odd. I don't know why John Peel particularly was on there, but yes, quickly withdrawn and put the cover you've just shown on. But yes, very strange cover to put out.
Good decision from the marketing department, don't you think, Simon?
Yeah. Oh, I think so. Yeah. It's yeah. As I say, just quite a strange cover, and not even the three members of the band, but to have Bob Dylan, John Peel, and Brian Jones on the front cover, it's just, I don't know, it doesn't seem to represent it at all, does it? In a funny kind of way, Whereas, yes.
Cool photo. I'd love to get that wall hanging. That's great. That must be in the studio, rehearsal studio or something.
Gotta be. It's gotta be. Yeah.
And the baggy hat that Buddy Miles is wearing, very cool. That's why he wore a baggy hat.
There he is there, the great bass player himself.
Billy Cox, one of the most amazing bass players. He was like a machine. He used to just sit there and fill every hole with his bass sound perfectly.
Yep. Another cool pic of Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
From the same era.
In the moment with his Black Beauty Strat. That's his nickname, Black Beauty. Mm-hmm. I believe that was one of his favourite Strats he's ever played or ever played.
So what's really interesting about this photo here, guys, is look at the guys in the audience with their afros.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting to point out, that we get a lot of impressions or a lot of views about, white guys and girls getting into Hendrix. But, this is just one photo here where clearly, there's a lot of guys just jamming up and, in the mosh pit there, just focusing on one of the greatest guitar players, as they should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's an interesting point. That it's one thing we forget, Andrew, isn't it? That the audiences at this time weren't going wild, throwing themselves at the stage. They were, respectful and came and listened to the tracks, and sat and paid attention in a way that, it's not quite portrayed in the same way as it. That other areas clearly in the pop world, you've seen the wild and crazy pop gigs, and I went to my first gig in 1972 was a wild and crazy pop gig, where the audience went mad. But I think this kind of rock audience was, they didn't do that nearly so much. It was a respectful watch and listen of the artist.
Yep, and that's another group shot there. And again,
cool.
The Rock Professor will be happy, and Brad, that the guys are just all standing there relatively tight and close.
The wonderful thing about a trio, it's like you can sort of keep it nice and tight on stage. within view of each other. You know, it's a great sort of feeling to be in a three-piece and be able to look across your stage and slightly over your shoulder and catch every person in the band. It's good.
And ladies and gentlemen, the last pick is especially for Brad, because Brad always loves it when you're grinding up against the cabinets there and
Beer dispensers.
Yeah, dig. It's really how to say it.
and
Move over, Rover.
wonderful
Lovely.
picks.
Yeah, really cool picks.
Very cool.
Feedback
Amazing
rules.
stuff.
Yeah, Holly's right. He was certainly
Yeah.
you know isn't it interesting, you know, because feedback had only been going on for a couple of years, guys, you know. You know, trying to control that electronic dragon.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
You know, it's one of those things where I think he took things with feedback and did things with no one was doing.
Yes.
Well, he made it part. He made it a sound. He made it a musical sound, didn't he? He made it part of the guitarist's arsenal
On purpose.
Yeah.
of thing on purpose, that, you know, things that you could do to make different sounds with your guitar, and that was one of them. Whereas, as you say, you go back 5 or 6 years, and cutting that out was, you know, and so don't play too loud, don't play too distorted, don't play too much. You know, was you know, the great adages then, wasn't it, in the mid-60s? You know, all those clean guitar sounds and, you know, certainly no feedback, and Hendrix just took it and made it part of the guitarist's arsenal of sounds that you could use. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
100%.
great stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Everyone enjoyed the photos. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hugh, side 2, brother. Side 2.
Side 2. Okay, after we all had a nap. Side 2 opens up with a rather upbeat song written by Buddy Miles called Changes. And it's very R&B, very 60s sounding. You can hear it in some of Electric Flag stuff that he played, his own band almost.
Yeah.
And it's got a cool riff. Jimmy plays a really cool riff in it. The do 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 do. And it's basically a release from the assault from the previous side, and it's a good song. It's not the best on the album, but it's cool. It's just got a nice rhythm to it. Everybody plays well on it. It's a healthy 8.5 or 10.
Very cool. Yeah, then Changes. Buddy Miles song. Very funky little number. You know, we hear Buddy play amazingly while he sings, which is a skill a lot of drummers can't do. I'll put it that way. It's this version that we're hearing is slightly edited from what was recorded on the night. Hendrix, like I said before, didn't like how much Buddy used to ad-lib and scat and for going for crowd interaction, because a lot of these recordings that were done on the third and fourth night were the ones that Hendrix knew were going to be recorded and released on an album. And he actually didn't move much on stage in the third and fourth performances of the 2 Fillmore gigs, because obviously on what was it, the 31st they did 2 shows, and then on the 1st they did 2 shows. So the 2 shows on the first, he stood still a lot of the time, except the encores. He really wanted the songs to sound really tight and really together. Some people would argue that there's less energy if he's not into the song, but he was into it. He just wanted them to be perfect for the recording. And listening back with Eddie Kramer, he did mention a few times that he used to cringe a lot at what Buddy Miles were doing in the recordings. So a lot of that reason is why these songs are, this one and one of the other ones as we get to the end of the album, is very edited. Not because of any other reason than they just wanted to cut those sections out. Some really nice wah guitar playing from Jimi Hendrix. Billy Cox, again, he's all over this song. He keeps it thick and tight, and he's locked in with Buddy Miles really tight. The soul funk thing is coming through. Great solo from Jimi Hendrix, and the ending is brilliant. I gave it 8.5 out of 10, and it's never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, it's an interesting song, guys, and in context with the album, but more importantly, guys, I think in context with the audience, I think it was a song that they needed to put in there because clearly it's influenced by that Stax, R&B, Motown kind of thing going on, which was still popular. You had that Marvin Gaye, what's going, kind of thing, and that vocals, that high vocal. So it's, certainly a product of the time of that, that period. And we've got to remember that, because, you've got Machine Gun on one end of the scale, Brad, and then you've got this kind of poppy kind of contribution on the other, which is fine. It's great. It works really, really well. It's not the best version of this song that I've heard. In fact, Clapton and Winwood did a very good version of this on their DVD back in 2008, I think it's, and dedicated it to Buddy because he passed away not long after, or before they did that gig. So, and Clapton didn't know about it until the time, and he thought it was very, what's the word, Simon? Serendipitous. So
serendipitous.
Yeah. So we'll take him at his word there because he knows what he's talking about. He's a man that can lock into the vibe and soul of things. Look, I'm not going to give this as high a score as you and Hugh have given it. I'm going to give this a 7, but it's a solid 7. I understand clearly what they're doing with it, but it's just a solid 7 for me, Simon, and very much part and parcel of the album. Never a skip, though.
No. The interesting part to me is that you're right. The contrast between Machine Gun and this, I mean, flipping it over as an album, and it's, you can't. It's very difficult if you have an album full of machine guns, it kind of lessens the impact of Machine Gun. So you've got, one of the other things, as I said earlier, didn't have a massive arsenal of pedals and things to make whole different textures and sounds. So therefore you have to do it in other ways. And this is one of the other ways. You have a much more straightforward song, with a kind of, verses and choruses and things, and a solo, and a bit more structured and a bit more organized into it being a proper song. I think there's also, we mustn't forget the kind of the equality thing of, so everyone gets a chance to have a song on this album and and do their thing, and I think that this is Buddy Miles' song, and it's it's a contrast to Machine Gun, and I'm always very keen on contrasts and changes in dynamics and what a song, and I think clearly this is exactly that, isn't it? You couldn't follow this with another long kind of jam thing, Machine Gun. It just wouldn't kind of work very well. So in terms of structuring the album and things, you're saying, okay, well, I need, what I need is the next song is going to have to be quite a contrast to Machine Gun, and this is quite a contrast to Machine Gun in terms of, as I say, it's been has different elements in it to Machine Gun. It has a kind of the audience clapping along and things, and that audience participation thing that they indulge in, and so interesting. I think that also I'd say that really the the guitar almost just plays lead guitar all the way through. The chords are very skeletal. There's not much chord play. There's a lot of single line, lead playing all the way through the song, as a thing. Again, there's a kind of difference, but I get it 8 out of 10 as well. So never a skip. I think it's a strong opener, and you can see why they put it in as the opener to side 2, because it's got plenty of zip and plenty of bounce to it. In that much more, as you say, Andrew, that much more kind of traditional R&B type thing than their backgrounds. So yes, 8 out of 10 for me, and never a skip.
I would encourage everyone who's watching this now or watching this back later to go and watch or listen to Live at Fillmore East and listen to the version of Changes on that double CD album set. That version of Changes is actually better, in my opinion, than what's on this album.
Yeah.
No argument from me.
Okay, next track on side 2 is Power to Love. I would say this song is probably the nearest Hendrix got to progressive rock, I think. Because there's certain time changes and chord changes in this that I've not heard before when listening to Jimmy. They've obviously jammed this a lot back at the house. I can't actually remember hearing versions of it on any bootlegs, but it sounds as if it's been rehearsed, and I like the interchangement between the 3 musicians on this one. There's something about it. It's really tight. You can hear again. I keep reiterating about Jimmy's new direction. I think that this kind of song would have been in his next few years and few albums. Just a very progressive song. That I love it. I think it's really good. I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10.
All right. Well, for me, I have to say, Power to Love. I call it Power of a Soul because I think Jimmy ended up changing it to Power of a Soul.
Yeah.
Moving forward, but the credits on the album say Power to Love. For me, this song starts off with some beautiful mellow strat tones from Jimmy, some wonderful blues playing. The licks are fantastic, and just like Hugh said, the intro goes through some alternate riffs that are really funky. Credit to Billy Cox on this one. This one really highlights Billy Cox, his ability to roll those bass lines and continue those repetitive bass lines without locking up, without cramping up, no mistakes. It's almost like a machine that he doesn't stop. He's just constant. He rolls between those changes while Jimmy floats over the top, and then when Jimmy comes back, meets him at the riff, and then they roll into the changes. Jimmy's rolling over the top unbelievably. Once the verse starts, we hear another progression. So we've gone through all these little changes all the way up to the first verse, and then once they come in the first verse, that rhythm is just unbelievable. And Buddy and Billy are just so tight. They're holding that for Hendrix to just play and vamp that chordal thing he's doing over the top and sing. If anyone's familiar with listening to Hendrix's recorded version of this song to listening to it live, obviously it's a lot harder for some of the things he's playing to sing over the top of, so he's simplified what he's playing, but it still sounds fantastic. And I'm a fan of the lyrics of this. His vocals are great. I love the choruses. I love, the way the boys are all singing the power of soul, anything is possible. And, I always quote that, to this day, I still quote that when something gets tough or this or that. I go, when the power of soul. And I can picture the 3 boys singing it, which is, I love that. I'm a fan of the lyrics, and I love the way Jimmy was trying to incorporate how he was feeling into songs in the lyrics by this point of his career. Some great aggressive fuzz tones in the solo. I can't wait to get my Dominion fuzz plug pedal going, trying to get some of these tones happening. It's an awesome groove. The way they play this song is such a groove. It has a lot going on in this song. You can tell they were still getting this song together at this stage. There's a few accents that were missed and whatnot, but nevertheless, it's a great version of the song. I gave it 9 out of 10. Again, Phil Maurice, go listen to the version on there. It's fantastic.
I actually put down on capital letters in my notes here the word groove.
Yeah.
Yes, like so much on this record, the groove.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, Billy Cox shines on this album, on this number especially.
Yep.
A genuine collaboration between the three musicians, I think, on this song. And Brad's really said it, with the power of soul, anything is possible, is just fantastic, and every now and again we kind of like to pick a song we think that the band may have put there because they specifically like that song because it's a band song. I get that vibe, Simon, with this song, that it's certainly that song. I do agree with what Hugh said, though, about this perhaps being an indicator of where Jimmy may have gone a little bit later. And why not? Why not? That's a perfect theory to have, because there's a lot of stuff on this album that could have pointed into a lot of directions, but certainly on this album here, this number, I should say, definitely. Interesting how, it comes to a stumbling end towards the end, doesn't it? It's it's like,
Just so you know that this song came out obviously as a studio version as well. So the studio version was very tight. I think at this point they were getting this song together. I'm not sure whether Hendrix really wanted to put this song on the album, but he did it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because of that I like it. Because it doesn't have to be, what's the word, perfect. We love, don't we? We love those little bum notes or something like that, or when the bass player comes in a little bit behind the beat. It's especially on a live album, or it gives it that credibility that we love, because so many albums that we've discussed have gone back into the studio and they've polished them for better or for worse. But I like that. I like that accidental mistake or whatever that happens on this song. But the highlight for me, definitely, guys, is Billy Cox on this. Look, I'm going to give this a solid 8.5 out of 10, and it's never a skip, Simon.
No, I think I'd agree with that. I think that the one thing that struck me about it was that there's a couple of things in this, but with their power of soul, anything is possible that they do. That reminds me very much of Sly and the Family Stone, with that kind of chant that has a very kind of early 70s thing, that kind of chant thing, to incorporate into your thing. Again, I like the Hendrix and I presume it's Buddy Miles singing together. I think that's really cool. I think that kind of two-part, especially near the end where they do some harmony singing and some unison singing. You can tell there are things that in there that, as you've said, the kind of development, things to develop, going forward, which I think would have been interesting, incorporating those that kind of different vocals. I think, the fierce guitar solo, it's kind of a bit more the older, fiercer Hendrix coming out in this bit than previous. Yeah. So I gave this an 8.5 out of 10. Never a skip. Yeah. I think the trouble is that everything lives in the shadow of Machine Gun, doesn't it? Kind of, and that kind of extraordinary kind of thing. But
Yep.
I think
I
yes.
agree with you, Simon. I think the vocals in this one are Billy Cox and Buddy Miles singing.
It's Billy.
So,
Okay, it's the two of them
I think
together.
it's
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
And Hendrix sort of sings along, but the majority of it's those two from what I can
Okay.
hear.
Right.
But yeah, Billy Cox used to
Cool.
sing a lot in the band of Gypsies, like the BVs used to sing with. But
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just a mix thing that I think
yeah.
Buddy Miles is very, very predominant. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
So
then,
we're
boys. Penultimate song is Message to Love. I think this is another Virgin on masterpiece performance from start to finish. It's so funky. The Hendrix guitar playing is unbelievable. The guitar solo is unbelievable. The backing vocals are perfect. All round musicianship on this is just easily the best version I've heard of this song by a country mile. I could listen to this every hour of the day. It's just so good. But again, another masterpiece. 8 million out of 10 easily. Love
Yeah. Favorite then? You.
it. Second favourite.
Yeah, look, Message of Love. I love how they start the song off with that octave, like just like a chromatic octave thing. It's fantastic. Once the song starts, that groove, it's very Sly and the Family Stone. It's dripping that actually. It's a lot of soul and funk in this. This is where I hear, in my opinion, where funk rock, soul, funk rock sort of thing originates from. When I listen to this song, great drumming from Buddy, and Billy, he's just locked in like always, but just fantastic. I love the lyrics of this song. The vocals are great, and Buddy and Billy singing the "ooh yeah" that thing that I can't do. They do it so well.
Do it again.
So
Do it again.
well. I won't repeat that. The way they do that is just fantastic. It gives that element of, you could picture if they did this in a big 7-piece band, you'd have, the ladies up the back singing it. Ooh, yeah, doing all that stuff with the soul singing, it'd be fantastic. So again, some fantastic fuzz and wah tones are happening in the solo. The soul is screaming at some points. He's just screaming. Then at about 5 minutes 25, the song does that little breakdown, which is very cool. And Jimmy's asking you in the song to hear his message. That's why I love the lyrics. He's got a message in this song. The song takes off again. There's more soloing from Jimmy, accompanied by Billy and Buddy again singing their yeahs and oohs, yeah, doing all that stuff. I love the ending. I love the version of the song. I actually love all the versions of this song. 10 out of 10 for me. Never skip. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Andrew.
Yeah, cool song. Message to Love is Jimmy's set opener for the Woodstock gig, and just about falls apart with that experimental band that he has at Woodstock, and it took this muscular trio to get together for them to give the song the power, Simon and Brad and Hugh, that the song needed for us to be in a position to start giving Brad scores and 10 out of 10s for it. I just think it's remarkable that these three guys, besides playing their instruments, are using their vocals as instruments as well. So, Brad, you made a wonderful point there. They don't have a back line of vocal singers propping them up. This is solidly a three-piece band. And when you put that into perspective, it's easier, I think, for people to forget think maybe if they come into this album with modern ears or a modern perspective, they might think that all this stuff's going on. No, it's just three guys, three cats getting there, doing the best that they can. You know, that funk riff, that circular funk riff, you know, we just keep talking about it, don't we? And it's really important. And again, Simon mentioned it at the intro, you know, with Sly and the Family Stone, and how that was sort of going into its own kind of orbit. Simon, you know, it was having its own audience, and these guys, being musicians of the time, were certainly, you know, feeding into it. Brad, I love it because of that, because it's a statement of 1970, 1971. It's fantastic. It's a document. It's that audio document that we love. Look, I have to give this a Brad score too. I'm amazed by it. Everything that my co-hosts have said. I look forward to what the Rock Professor has to say about this song. Definitely a never a skip. Hey, Jonas.
Yes, good morning, Jonas. Yeah, that Sly and the Family Stone thing is quite relevant, I think, to this. You know, as one of the influences in here. You know, that thing I was talking earlier about. You know, I was just looking it up while you were talking. You know, that so Dance to the Music is 1968. You know, thank you for letting me be myself again is 1969. So you know these lines are playing into, you know, the influences, you know, that Hendrix was you know, clearly not divorced from, and you know, putting those through the filter and seeing what other people are doing. You know, that Sly and the Family Stone clearly very produced, lots of backing vocals, lots of instrumentation, lots and lots of it. Slightly crazy sometimes, but I think, you know, that is very much part of, you know, that funk thing. He's in that mix with those guys playing into it, and I think this is a, you know, fantastic example of that. Really, as a song and as a vibe. I think, you know, there's blistering solo, there's harmony singing. You know, there's all the things that you think, there's, you know, there's things to be progressed with, you know, differently from the experience. You know, where Jimmy's pretty much the only singer. You know, and stretching out. I think, as you say, the blistering playing on the solo, I think it's, you know, it's very, you know, it's very.
There's something about the way the rhythm is in this song. It's almost kind of like galloping.
Yeah,
It's just plodding along like a racehorse.
Yes, that's right, and I think that's the you guys have mentioned it. You know, the rhythm section. You know, they're steady. You know, they just, you know, when it's time to lay down the beat, they lay down the beat. And there's not a lot of, you know, sort of drum soloing. You know, lots of going around the kit. There's not a lot of that. It is very much that kind of laying down the beat, and Hendrix over the top of it, giving it, you know, adding to the mix with his own special magic. But you know, those two guys absolutely, and I know there's the difference is quite marked, I think, in what they do in that rhythm section, and you know, suits what they're doing here fantastically well. And I don't think that Redding and Mitch Mitchell could have done it like this. They wouldn't have been able to control themselves. And I think that you know, that slightly more introspection and slightly more, you know, focusing on it rather than the kind of wildness is you know, attractive, and it clearly shows, you know, what I know Hendrix, you know, we all know Hendrix a bit tired of the, you know, the kind of theatrics of setting Vargio guitar and playing with your teeth and all of those things. You know, I think Brad, I think you mentioned earlier about him standing still a lot more in this, you know, because I am now focusing on the music. I'm now focusing on what I'm playing and, you know, how it's going to work. And I think that's you know, a sign of maturity and a sign of, you know, wanting to take your music to other places rather than just be the wild man of rock, you know, setting fire to your guitar, which is, you know, fine as a show thing, and nothing fine again. But clearly he, you know, didn't want to do that anymore. So fantastic virtuoso guitar work. I think, you know, never tire of it. I can never tire of Hendrix's playing as a player, as an inventive, you know, as I said before, for me, the most inventive electric guitar player that I've ever come across. Really, all things of the electric guitar, stem from Hendrix, what he did and the way he expanded it as an instrument. And I think this album is a testament to that, what he could do, with his guitar and not much else. Guitar and a Marshall.
Apart from the amazingly blistering guitar solos, I don't think anybody matches him for rhythm work either. His timing's unbelievable.
It's the combination. It's the combination of doing that sort of funk thing and doing the solos and doing that thing that I think the interesting part is, I think a lot of people can play like that now, yeah, but I think then not very many people did, and as you say, it's a really difficult art to master, the mixture of the two things. And Brad, you can say more about this because you can do it, but than I can, because I can't particularly. Yet another thing I can't do on the guitar, but it's 10 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. I think it's great. Do you just want to say something about that, Brad? That kind of that combination lead and rhythm thing.
Look, Hendrix, in my opinion, is the greatest rhythm guitar player of all time because he used to have his own unique timing. You've only got to listen to songs like Access Bottles Love, Little Wing, and they highlight that sort of Motown sort of guitar stylings and how he incorporated that into the blues. But I do agree with you, Simon. He's playing rhythm lead stuff. Well, that's what he did. I don't think he played really well with other guitar players. I think he was always going to be a guy that would be covering all the bases himself on stage. Sort of like Jimmy Page to an extent in his own way as well, I think, to an extent. But Hendrix, without a doubt, was not just a lead guitarist. And I get a bit frustrated when people only talk about Hendrix as a guitar player that plays the lead guitar. His rhythm playing equals it, if not is better than his lead guitar playing, in my opinion. Talking
about his rhythm guitar playing again, on the version of Message to Love, I think it's on one of the released. What was it?
New Rage of the Rising Sun?
No, it was the one he's on the motorcycle.
Yeah, I know. Geez, I should know that.
I should know as well. But anyway, there's a version on that. It's a pretty
South Saturn Delta.
South Saturn Delta. There's a version on that where halfway through the song, he stops the band and just plays this beautiful rhythm guitar part, and then the band gradually join in again, the rhythm section. It's gorgeous.
That's one of my favourite versions of the song.
It's gorgeous.
Right. Yeah. Of course, the rhythm guitar part for these kind of funk songs is almost more important than the lead, isn't it? That ability to play that rhythmic rhythm part is just that's the center of it in many ways, for the guitar player, isn't it? It's not, never mind the lead stuff. It is, Brad, as you say, that rhythm guitar parts that really lay down, that it's funk and it's funky and it's and I'm sure that comes from his Chitlin background, playing in that, where he would have been doing much more of that stuff, wouldn't he, as a guitar player.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hugh.
Yes. Okay, we're down to the final track on the album. We gotta live together. I would say this is probably the song on the album that I maybe have skipped in the past, just because it's a nice sounding goodbye to the audience type song, but they're revving up the audience just for one last time, just the way that the track goes, and the three of them are singing on this as well. again, not the best track on the album by any means. Just a nice wee way to finish the concert, I would say. And some nice guitar playing from Jimmy in this as well, but it's not the best. It's still good. I'd say another 8.5 again.
Yep. Fair enough. That's a good score. Look, we got to live together. Now, this sort of song fades in, as you can hear. It's faded in. Obviously, this was pared down from a 15-minute version of the song to 5 minutes by Eddie Kramer and Jimi Hendrix when they were mixing it and trying to get it together for an album. Yep. There's some cool jamming by the band. It incorporates a lot of riffs that were, from bands that they were influenced by, like Sly and the Family Stone. They start off with a riff that Sly used to do called "Sing a Simple Song."
Yeah.
They start off with that, and then obviously there's a fair bit of I think there's two major edits in this song. There's some cool jamming from the band. Buddy calls out to the crowd and gets them to join in a lot. We hear Jimmy, scream through with his fuzz and Octavia drenched Strat at some point, like around the 5-minute 55. There's some fantastic guitar playing. The tempos are up and down deliberately. The song speeds up, slows down, speeds up. The song is edited. It does lack a lot of continuity, in my opinion. Still some wicked jamming, though, and it really does show how tight they were as a three-piece with some of the jamming. There is a better version of this song on the Fillmore East, live at Fillmore East, which I think is worth listening to. But I know Jimmy wanted to put this on, I don't know exactly what reason for, on the album, when he could have put any other version, even the encores he did, Foxy Lady, and he could have put anything on, but he put this on for a reason. I'm not sure why. I gave this song an 8 out of 10. I've never skipped it. I've always enjoyed it. It used to sound odd to me where it jumps, and I thought it was an edit, but obviously knowing more about it, it all made sense when I did buy Live at Fillmore East CDs. All of this made sense to me. And I believe now, without sort of plugging the Hendrix family releases, I believe there is a box set of all show 1, 2, 3, and 4. All the performances out, without the edited version of this on there. And I haven't got that at this present point in time. But so, yeah, 8 out of 10 for me. Andrew, pass it over to you.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. That was going to be my conclusion. The Live at Fillmore East certainly was the blueprint that gave us all the clues of where this album should have been, could have been. I have to agree with Brad. This edited mix is nowhere near as good as the one that's on Live at the Fillmore East. Go and check that out. I look forward to us talking about that album one day in the future as well. Look, the only thing that's really, really good about this song for me is the astonishing guitar playing. It's free-flowing, and it's just as good as anything else that's on this album. It's a continuation of that funk soul kind of thing. And, that's a political statement that we have to remember too. And I didn't want to bring this up earlier. I wanted to save it for the last song. Got to remember that. Just like rap started out as a commentary on the existence of people and their material things and their aspirations. So did soul and funk as well. It was, and indeed rock and roll. Simon, rock and roll started out, as a commentary on life. We can say even poetry. Oh, okay. What have I done? I've taken us somewhere that we should. But the point is with these soul and these funk guys, I think we got to put that into context too. That And there was one photo that we showed there with all these black dudes standing there in the audience watching, you know, and there was this kind of political thing. One thing too that the rock professor mentioned earlier when he was talking about some of the songs about the call and response and stuff like that, and the chanting, you know, that again is a political thing, because the chanting was what the people were doing on the streets. The young people, when they were going in marching against the Vietnam War, everything was a chant, you know, so they were just reflecting that, mirroring that, Simon, you know, as artists, and giving it back to their audience. Fantastic, just great, you know. And this is why I love doing this show with you guys, because, you know, sometimes you might think this, but then we go and do some research and talk about it together here, and we go, we know what they were doing. Brad, you know, I think you're right. You got to go and check out the Live at Fillmore for this album to make sense.
Yeah.
For this album to make sense, it's got to be something that people should do. Look, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10, only because of Machine Gun. And can I just say one thing before I hand it over to the rock professor? They should have played all these songs before Machine Gun, and ended the album with Machine Gun. That's my only criticism about this album. The Machine Gun should have ended this album.
I could agree with you there, Andrew. I mean, I'm used to hearing it in that second spot, but I would love to hear it to close the album. But yeah, it makes sense.
Thank you.
Thanks, well, I must say, I think in terms of of an album, setting up of an album, it is the right place for it to be. That second track, that kind of taking up the second half of the first side, that's where it has them. I think it would have as the last track. I think the impact would be different there than it is. So I think it is in a good place for it myself. Sorry to be contrary, Mr. Walton, but you are of course wrong. Be so naughty, should I? Yeah, I mean, I echo what you guys said. I think there's, you know, that sort of funk thing, shades of Sly and the Family Stone are written down, you know, with the chanting and those things, bringing it in. I think there's tremendous guitar playing on it, blistering guitar solo, and I like the kind of motorbike noises at the end, you know, that he does with the whammy bar. That's kind of new as well. 8 out of 10 from me, and never a skip. I think you guys have covered it perfectly, what it is and what it is. It's interesting, isn't it, that you know, we always say that the weakest track should be the second track before last, but I think they haven't done that. I think maybe this is probably one of the weaker tracks on this record, but still interesting. I would never skip it, and I think it's a really cool vibe to it as well.
I agree. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you, Hugh. We look forward to you coming back.
Hugh.
And being a guest host on some upcoming shows.
Sure.
You always have an invitation here. I'm just going to remind everybody, we've got 11 people here watching us. Thank you. We're going to be live Thursday. I'm going to be here. Brad's going to pop in at some stage. Hoss is going to pop in at some stage, and we're going to have lots of other people popping in and popping out. So if you want to come on and spend 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes talking about Eddie Van Halen and what he means to you on that live show, let me know, let Brad know, let the rock professor know, and we'll send you a link. I'll have a link open on the comments that you can just grab if you wanted to jump in, and I can't make any guarantees. I don't know how long people are going to be in the green room, but we'll try and do the best that we can, Brad, won't we?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. No, we're looking forward to that, Andrew. Very much so.
Yeah. And please do feel as though you can pop in, and you know, it's you know, it's really great to have that audience participation, and you know, so please, if you've got time and you've got 10 or 15 minutes, pop in and see the team and contribute something, because we'd love to hear from you all. You know,
what time is that? What time, Simon?
Oh God, I don't know what time. Hold on, I'll have a look.
Right, sorry.
No, that's right. That's fine, isn't it?
The best way to do it is just look at your YouTube. Look at the link for that show on YouTube, and it'll tell you your time.
It will be 02:30 a.m. for us. 2:30 in the morning.
Okay.
Possibly will be
but we'll be
asleep,
going
but,
6 hours,
yeah.
maybe 8 hours, depending on. We did 8 hours last year, didn't we, Brad? So, and that went really, really quick. So,
You
pop
did.
in before work.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, and check out the show that we've got in the weekend. I'm going to be doing a special ranking of the tracks for us next Sunday in preparation for that book, Fleetwood Mac book. So usual story, guys. If you want to know what that album is, go to Brad's Instagram account, the Rock Professor's Instagram accounts. You see them there on the bottom. Easy peasy Japanesey at Brad Cook Music. Simon, the Rock Professor, Simon Williams 33, and there I am there at the 5150 show. Hugh, thank you for hanging out with us. I'm going to ask my other two co-hosts to offer a couple of words, and then we're going to give you the last word, Hugh, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining us, and thanks, Hugh, for joining us. It was great having you part of the show. One of my favourite albums, one of my favourite artists. So I enjoy doing anything to do with Hendrix. I'm very excited and very happy. Yeah. And thank you, everyone who's recently subscribed. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone that's part of the family already and been here for a long time. Thank you. And everyone in the chat. I'll go through and read some of the chat a bit later. And I missed a fair bit there because I was so engrossed in what everyone was saying about the Hendrix song, so I can't help myself. Sorry. And thank you, for 8.5 thousand subscribers. I'm still blown away by that, guys. And, Simon, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'll say thanks to everyone in the chat because so I've got Holly, Teresa, who we have Nelson as well, Pop Tune. Johnny Heartbreaker, going back to the beginning. So, yes, Holly, Teresa, Chris Chronic as well. Holly, Tim Thomas, Jazz Thunder 50, Jim. Good to see you, Jim. Have a good day. Teresa, he's gone. Ellen as well. Thanks, Ellen, for dropping by. Fantastic to see you too. Gret Zeppelin. Yes, Jonas Halberg. Hi, Jonas. Thanks for dropping by too. That's fantastic. John ZD 351. So hopefully you've caught up, John. He had us on 2 times playback, which might make us sound more interesting. So I think that's everybody I've got. I know there are a few people I ducked out and went back in again. So thanks all for joining. It's really great to see you. Stay safe this week. Have a good one. And we'll see you on Thursday. So if you've got a chance to join in on Thursday, please do. Send Andrew a message saying you'd like to join in 10 or 15 minutes. Because this is a community channel and we like to have people from our community on. And which brings me to thanks, Hugh, for coming on and doing a fantastic job with a fantastic record. Please come back with another record because that was really good fun. Really enjoyed it.
You three know I'm a huge fan of this channel. I love what you guys do. Consistently, you're ranking all the albums that I love. It's all the kind of stuff that I grew up on and continue to listen to, and you do a brilliant job. So it's been a real pleasure to come on and chat with and share this album with you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I hope everybody in the chat could understand my dodgy accent as well.
No, it's good for them, Hugh. It's good for them.
Awesome. All right. If you haven't given us a thumbs up, please give us a thumbs up. We love you guys. We're out of here.
Funko Jimmy.
Take care, all. Bye.